Hi students, as I've already spoken about stakeholders in our previous class, let us take the topic forward. Today we're going to discuss about differences between stakeholders and customers. So before we start talking about it, let me ask you something. Are customers known as internal stakeholders or they are our internal stakeholders or external stakeholders? If you're still confused thinking about that whether customers are internal stakeholders or external stakeholders, then let me clarify this concept again. Customers are your external stakeholders because they have no monetary gains or no monetary stake into the company. All their stakes are based on the products that they buy or the services that they buy from the company. So they happen to be our external stakeholders. We're going to study about stakeholders, the difference between stakeholders and customers. So the first point of difference is financial stake. So stakeholders mainly have a financial stake in the company. That is, they have directly invested their finance into the company and they are looking forward to profits. Whereas customers, they have not invested any kind of finance into the company or any funds, and they are not bothered about the company's profit. All they are bothered about is getting good quality service and good quality products. Next point is supply of capital. Okay, as we know, stakeholders, they are the source of capital for any company. They are providing capital to the company, finances, long term and short term, any kind of finances. So they are the suppliers of capital. Whereas customers, they are not the suppliers of capital. They are just the consumers buying of goods and services. Stakeholders are not really into buying things from the company. They are the investors of the company, whereas the customers, they are more into buying the products because that's the kind of relationship a customer has with the company. They have the relationship between a buyer and a seller. They are the buyers and the company is the seller. So the medium of exchange is money and the product. Risk taking. Who do you think? The stakeholders will be taking the risk or the customers will be taking the risk for the company? Yes, it is the customers who are going to take sorry, you're not going to take any risk for the company. It is the stakeholders who will take the risk for the companies because customers are not involved into day-to-day decision making of the company. They are not involved in taking any financial decisions. Neither are they investing any kind of funds. So they have very little stake in the company and they do not take risk. Product orientation. Products are not manufactured according to the tastes of the stakeholders, whereas products are manufactured according to the taste of the customers. Okay, which is very easy to understand. The stakeholders, they do not have a say in the designing of the product, in the want satisfying quality of the product. All they do is finance the product. They finance the decisions, how it is going to be done. They finance the market research. They finance the marketing strategies. Whereas how to design the product, how to make it more want satisfying is done by the feedback of the customers. Sharing of profits. Okay, the stakeholders who have given in their capital or invested their capital into the company, they expect a fair amount of return whenever the company makes a profit. So, what are the various kind of returns that a stakeholder expects? First of all, interest. Like if the investor or the shareholders have given a loan, have given a long-term loan to the company, in that case, he or she is expecting an interest. And dividend, if he or she is a shareholder, that means he's holding shares in the company. So he or she will be expecting an increased amount of profit. A part of the profit that the company makes is known as dividend, which is paid to the shareholders. Next comes wages. As we all know, employees, they form a part of the internal stakeholders. So wages are expected by the employees, a timely wage, fair remuneration. These are all the expectations. And for the customers, what kind of returns do they expect? Do they expect interest? Do they expect dividend? Do they expect salaries? No, they don't. They just expect good quality products, good quality service. Participation in management. Stakeholders such as owners, they do participate in the management of the company as not just owners as well as board of directors. They take part in the management of the company. Whereas customers, they really don't have any kind of relation as far as taking management decision is concerned. If we have understood the difference between stakeholders and customers, we would like to move on to the next topic. Distinction between shareholders and customers. So now we're talking about a specific stakeholder, which is shareholders. As we all know, shareholders are group of investors or investors who have directly put their finance, so directly provided for long-term investment in the company. They and versus the customers. Okay, let us begin. Stakeholders. Shareholders are stakeholders, whereas customers are not stakeholders. See, this is a bit conflicting because as we have already spoken about it, customers are stakeholders, but they are external stakeholders. So when we talk about hardcore stakeholders, like internal stakeholders, customers are not considered as a hardcore stakeholder. So shareholders are your stakeholders, and we are, for the sake of differentiating, we are saying that customers are not our stakeholders. Investment. As we all know, shareholders have invested their finance into the company, they've put in their capital, whereas customers, they have nothing to do with investment of money. Next point of difference is dividend. So when you put in your money, when you buy shares of a company, what as an investor do you expect from the company? You expect returns, and that return is given a particular term, which is known as dividend. So at the end of a particular financial year or the quarter of a year, when the company is publishing its final accounts, the percentage of dividend is mentioned over there. So shareholders expect or they receive dividend, whereas customers, they are not entitled to receive any dividend because they have not invested anything into the company. Risk. Again, we come to the same point. Being shareholders, you have put in your capital, put in your funds and finances into the company, so you have to bear a certain amount of risk in case the company goes into loss or like it is not doing well in the global or the national market. It is we as investors have to bear the brunt of it. And customers really don't take any kind of risk because they are not investors. They have not invested any capital. They don't have any vested interest as far as finance is concerned. All their concern is about getting quality product or service in exchange of the money. As we are done with distinction between shareholders and customers, let's move on to the next topic, distinction between shareholders and creditors. As we know, creditors are your suppliers, like from whom you have taken a service or from whom you have taken a product, bought a product, but you have not paid yet. You have not made any payments as such for now. Okay, or you have promised the payment to be made in the future. In that case, let us come to a differentiation between shareholders and creditors. Okay, first of all, before we start with the distinction, let me tell you that shareholders and creditors, they are two different categories of stakeholders. Shareholders they become the internal stakeholders of the company, whereas creditors, they become the external stakeholders of the company. First point of difference, type of stakeholders. As I already said, as I already mentioned, your shareholders are your internal stakeholders, whereas your creditors are your external stakeholders. Nature of investors. They invest in capital, whereas creditors, they only give loan to the company. Okay, now as I've already told you, either your creditors can either be your suppliers, either they're supplying your raw materials, or it can be someone who's giving you services to whom you've not paid for a long time, or it can be a bank that is giving to you a loan. Sorry for the interruption. Okay, as we were talking about, creditors can also become your bankers from whom you have taken a loan, short-term loan, long-term loan. So they become your finance investors. But there is difference. There is a difference between finance given by your shareholders and finance given by your banks. Like your shareholders, they are completely locking in their finance into the company. They become the owners. They are the risk takers. Whenever your company is not doing well, they are not going to leave you and like they are not going to scamper. Your money is locked into the company. Whereas bankers, they are giving their finance only for a certain limit of time, not beyond that. And even for that, they are charging you an interest. Nature of investment. Okay, they invest in capital, whereas they only give loan. Okay, shareholders, they give us finance, whereas creditors, they give us only the loan. Degree of risk. As we can understand, shareholders have a greater degree of risk because they become the owners. And as you become the owners, you have to rise and fall with the company. Whenever it's making a profit, you're earning more, but whenever it's making a loss, you have to bear the brunt. But for creditors, they have a fixed amount of return. That is, they are going to earn a fixed amount of interest even if your company is not doing well. Profit sharing. Shareholders, they have a profit sharing ratio, which based on which the entire year's profit or a quarterly profit is divided amongst the shareholders. Creditors, they do not assume any such role in the company where they are entitled to receive any kind of profit because they are not the internal investors of the company. Next point of difference is membership. Shareholders, they are the members of the company. As we know, they have voting right as well because they are involved into the day-to-day management of the company. Any kind of critical and crucial decision of the company is taken by the shareholders along with the help of the board of directors. So they have voting rights, whereas your creditors, they have no such voting rights. So with this, we come to the end of difference between shareholders and creditors, shareholders and customers, and stakeholders and customers. Let us look into the next topic. Okay, now we're going to talk about the expectations of various stakeholders. Before we begin this, let me make it very clear to you that we have got a couple of very confusing stakeholders. But the first three stakeholders that I'm going to mention, they are the internal stakeholders. One, shareholders. Second, your board of director. And third, your employees. So these three are working very closely with the company. So they form your internal stakeholders. Whereas everything else, every other party is your external stakeholder. Namely your society, the media, creditors, competitors, suppliers, financial institutions or banks, trade unions or the government. Let us begin with expectations of stakeholders. The first stakeholder that we are going to talk about are owners. As we know, they provide us capital, they have the maximum amount of stake in the company because they also bear the maximum amount of risk. What is the first expectation? The first expectation is they expect a reasonable return. Of course, like as you are an investor and you're investing in the company, your expectation lies into the company's profit making ability. So if the company is not making profit or it's become a sick performing company, that becomes a concern. So in such situations, you would like to rethink your investment plans, right? Next topic is appreciation in share value. Of course, any investor would feel glad when they see that the company shares in which they have invested, it is performing excellently in the stock market. It means that their shares are being purchased more and people are dealing more into the share. It has gained a good goodwill into the stock market. Next is safety of capital. So when you put in a lot of capital as an investor in a company, the third most important thing that you are concerned about is the safety of your capital. So, what are the scenarios where you think the capital you have invested can go into loss? Is when the company has become completely sick and is not able to run. You have to pay off long-term dues. You have to pay off other credit that you have taken, other loans that you have taken, pay off the debentures. So, in that case, what happens? Your assets or your investment or the finance that you have put into the company comes under risk because from your invested finance they are going to pay it off. So no investor would like to come into such a situation, isn't it? Next, we come across information on financial position. As we have already discussed, that any business organization or any company, before it hands out or it distributes a dividend, it calls for a press meeting. It calls for a board of annual general meeting where it discusses and it releases all the informations, and it also talks about what kind of dividend it is planning to distribute this year. So, as an investor, we are interested in knowing how much the company is going to pay us. Next is participation in policy decisions. Okay, now policy decisions can be like a merger, two companies are merging together, or like the company is splitting, or the company is selling it up, another company is acquiring the company, acquisitions and mergers. So these are critical decisions. In such a scenario, investors have to be asked to come to a meeting and their voting rights have to be exercised. So as a shareholders, they expect that such decisions should be taken with their consent. With this, we are done with expectations of owners. Now let us move on to the expectations of board of directors. They are the second group of people in the internal stakeholders category. So what is their day-to-day business? Their work is to guide and control the working of the organization. They do not invest anything in the company, but their work is to manage the funds. Their work is to guide the organization into achieving their goals. The first point is freedom to manage. So if you are a part of the board of directors, and you have been given a set of goals like achieving certain amount of sales, achieving certain amount of market share capture, and certain amount of profit. So you as a manager would like to exercise certain amount of flexibility in your day-to-day businesses. You wouldn't like any high-end management personnel coming and putting a rigid instruction on everything that you do. That is not the way organizations work, right? So in that case, what do they expect? They expect freedom of management. Next is fair remuneration. Of course, board of directors, they are involved in making very critical decisions on day-to-day basis. It is on them the company's profit is basically dependent because their decisions really matter. In return, they expect fair remuneration. Next point is dignity of position. Sometimes we don't just work for money, we work for the appreciation, respect, accolades that we are working for. So the board of directors, they don't really work for money most of the times, they also work for their achievements. Next is reasonable tenure. Reasonable tenure means your time period of working, your time period of employment. So, as a board of director, you're investing a huge chunk of your time and your efforts and your educational expertise into managing the business. So, no board of director, no member of board of director would agree to a probational period of employment. They would not agree to a temporary employment because that brings in the a stress of work. It's going to put them in stress and they won't be able to work in a very calm manner. This is where we end board of directors. We are going to start employees now. This is the third category under your internal stakeholders. And the last, what do they provide? What do employees provide to the organization? They provide physical and mental effort. Of course, as you all know, the staff, the human resource of the company, they provide us with the physical and mental efforts. For skilled labor, we have got mental efforts, and for unskilled labor, we've got physical efforts. What do they expect? First of all, they expect fair remuneration. Okay, so when an employee is working and putting in their eight hours of working or more, maybe, so what do they expect in return? They expect a fair remuneration. The remuneration that they are receiving, it should be at par with the standard of living. It should allow him or her to manage his family in a very dignified manner and to be able to afford all the basic necessities of life. Next is proper working conditions. Now this comes mainly into picture when people are working in factories. So what happens there, basic safety needs are not observed over there. So this is where it comes that proper working conditions are required. When you're working for long hours and labor especially, they are labor category people who are working with corrosive acids, who are working with heavy metals, who are working in the mines, they require safety. They require health and hygienic safety. Next is opportunity for growth in career. So obviously, an employee who has put in their a good number of years in the organization, 10, 15 years of their life, they would require some job security, and along with that, they would require some promotion, some appreciation, some growth in their career. So that's another expectation they have from the company. Next is social security and welfare. Social security comes as a part of your on the job benefits and post retirement benefits. Social securities can be your housing allowance, your traveling allowances, your health insurances, and your post retirement social security benefits can be your pension, can be your gratuity. These are all the things. So when you're working in an organization for a good number of years, above 10 years, 15 and 20 years, what happens is that you become dependent on the company, and the company has some added responsibilities towards its employees. Like when we retire, we hope to have a ready and a steady source of finance even flowing to us when we are not working. So in that case, the company has to provide with some social benefits. Next is share in profits and participation in management. Now, this point you would be thinking that it is conflicting with shareholders, because shareholders, they have a share in profits and they are the investors, whereas employees are not the investors. So how come they are going to have some voting rights? Okay, let me tell you. Key employees in a company who have been working for a long time and who hold positions such as senior manager or line manager, they sometimes are offered by the companies to purchase the shares of the company. They encourage internal investment. Like it's better that somebody else coming and purchasing shares. It's better than that their own employees are a part of the shareholders. So in that case, the employees become the shareholders and they also have voting rights. Now we move on to external stakeholders. What are the external stakeholders looking for? What expectations they have? First stakeholder is suppliers. So what do the suppliers do? Suppliers can be of two kinds. Either we can consider suppliers of raw materials or we can consider suppliers of credit. So if you're considering suppliers of raw materials, it becomes that they are your general suppliers who are giving you raw materials for your manufacturing processes and you have purchased raw materials from them and you have not paid them their dues. So they become your natural creditors. Next comes suppliers of funds. In that case, what happens? Your banks become your suppliers. So they are also your creditors. So what are your expectations? First of all, fair and timely payments. What kind of fair and timely payments are we looking for if we are a supplier? So if we are a supplier, I'm looking for interest. I'm looking that my principal is paid off back to me within the stipulated amount of time. I expect that the amount of bill that was produced, if I have given you some raw materials, it's given back to me at the required amount of time. Next is regular order. So if I'm your supplier and I supply you raw materials, I would expect that we have a good relation and you regularly ask for raw materials from me and I regularly supply because that is going to boost my sales. That is going to keep my business going. Correct information about financial position. So if I'm a supplier, I should come to know how healthy your company is working, how healthily it is managing its funds. Only then I'm going to have a picture whether you are going to pay me my dues on time or not. Healthy business relations. So healthy business relations are something which is very key and which is very important for suppliers because suppliers are the ones who are supplying you raw materials or if it's a bank it is giving you the funds. In that case it is helping you to manage or run your company. So unless you have a good relation with them, why should they extend a helping hand when you are in trouble or when your business is not doing well? So healthy relations are very, very important in the business. Now we come to government. As we have already talked about government, what are its expectations? First of all, timely payment of taxes. Second, following the law, general law of the land, and third, cooperating with economic schemes. See, every new government that comes into the picture, they have their own set of policies. They come and they publish their own set of policies. So if you are running a business, your business goals should be in line with the policies of that particular government, of those 5-year policy plan that they have. And the last topic we are going to do is general public or society. As a company or as a business person or as an organization owner, you have some responsibility towards the society because you are taking so much from the society. What are you giving it back? So as an organization, you have to prove that you are giving back something worthwhile to the organization. So what are these? Okay, first of all, optimum utilization of resources. Over here, optimum utilization of resources means less wastage and zero exploitation. You're not going to exploit any resources. You're going to use as much as is required without wasting because we all are answerable. What we use today, what we use up today, we are not leaving that resources back for our upcoming generation. So we have to be very much mindful of the resources that we use. Next is avoid all types of pollution. So this is very, very important. Even if a minimum amount of pollution will be created for manufacturing purposes. But what matters is how you are managing your waste. Your waste management system should be very foolproof. Help weaker sections. So if you're setting up a business, as I've already told you this in the previous class and you already know about it, that if a new business house is being set up somewhere and a new factory comes up and you are not hiring the local people, you're not helping the local people in becoming more educated, you're not taking the local people's views and consent. So what happens? You are actually cutting out the society from making any benefits from your organization. Last point, preserve social and cultural values. So your company goals should be in line with the social values of the particular place you have set up your business. The kind of, I'm giving you one example. You have set up your business of liquor or tobacco. you have hired people from that particular locality and they're coming to your factory and they're making tobacco rolls and they're making bottles of liquor. So what kind of societal values are you going to incur? You are going to you are giving out a wrong picture. What will happen in the next few months? Youths of that place, men in that place can go into smoking tobacco, can go into liquor consumption. So that is not advisable. You are very much responsible for not distorting the societal piece, but to promote the cultural values in a particular place where you set up your business. So these are the expectations of all the stakeholders. That's all for today. Thank you.